For 5,000 years, the earth of my country has been a shroud and a shield to the ancient wealth of our heritage. These are the graves of kings. They are my country's treasure chests, for they hold its memory and its lineage. I, a Korean, invite you to come with me into that chamber of the past. In 1971, we cut into the sealed entryway and found a passage. Where it led, what we would find, we could not know. Out of the shadows, a guardian of antiquity rose to meet us, a fabulous little beast, the loyal sentinel of the tomb, undisturbed until this moment. He still bore the vestiges of brightly painted lips. Beside him on the wall, an inscription, 영동 대장군 백제 삼화왕년 62. We had unearthed the tomb of King Munyeong, who reigned over the kingdom of Baekje, one of 3 on our peninsula at that time. He died 523 AD. His queen was buried with him. The king, the inscription said, was brave and handsome. He paid 10,000 golden coins to the earth deity for the site of his tomb. Inside the chamber, lamps had burned, casting a shadowy vigil over the king's last realm. The lamp and its light are gone, the king is gone, but out of the darkness to our day have come his treasures and the story of our splendid beginnings. A jade pendant for the king or queen. Elaborate flame-shaped ornaments of gold for the king's crown. For the first time, we see our ancient rulers as they were then. A silver cup, delicately incised with wavy mountains, flying birds and dragons, topped with a lotus finial. A hairpin shaped like a swallow in flight. A ceramic tile. Only a few remain of the thousands that once decorated the temples. From these, we can only imagine the vanished splendor of these kingdoms. And so, we must see my country's past in fragments, yet even fragments speak eloquently. From these silent, undulating mounds, embracing treasures yet to come, we offer gifts of art that you may know us, the land of Daehanmingguk, the land you call Korea. An ancient poem speaks of our cultural memory. The sun and the moon combined their spirit's power to greet the god-man 'neath the forest tree. companion of the moon and stars, great as the earth and sky, born clothed with power. Although he labored not, he wrought all and built the state called Korea. My people are ancient. At first, we lived in scattered, isolated tribes. We fished the rivers and coasts of our small peninsula, a land bound to a powerful neighbor, China. The prelude to our history begins 5,000 years ago, when nomadic tribes took the shape of cooperating communities under strong leaders. We have found comb-patterned vessels dating from 3000 BC, but most have been lost in the great void of the past. We know that my early people came from the Asian forests of the north. We emerged as one race. We have one language, and so it has always been. For 2.5 millennia, we clung to survival, hunting a rocky land. Growing and storing food freed us from primeval uncertainty. In triumph, we erected monuments, granite megaliths, to mark the graves of our dead and our escape from an old to a new way of life. Now we had the leisure and the impulse to express ourselves, to transform the useful into the elegant, to represent the real by the symbolic. But even in these early times, we were beset by foreign invasions. They brought disorder and domination. They also brought the knowledge of bronze and iron. We fashioned our buckles from bronze. We adapted what they brought, shaped nature to our own design. A bronze rattle bell, held by a shaman during an ancient rite. We were the heirs of strong shamanistic beliefs from Siberia, beliefs that invested every animal, tree, and stone with helpful or malicious spirits. Decorated in an intricate cobweb design, this mirror was also used by shamans in their rituals to appease the spirits. My early people worshipped the sun. We poured that reverence into golden adornment. Our kings and queens crowned themselves in the symbolic shapes of antlers and trees, studded with jade beads formed like bear claws or animal fangs. All decorations, antlers, trees, spangles, fangs, or claws, are shapes that conjure up the deep Siberian forests and our past beliefs in all the spirits that haunted the night. In the 5th century after Christ, the three kingdoms, Baekje, Goguryeo, and Silla, vied for power. But only Silla, isolated in the southeast, produced these unparalleled crowns. The goldsmiths of Shilla were superb craftsmen. They raised their art to its zenith. Hundreds of embellishments were shaped like leaves on gilded stems cut from sheets of beaten gold. A necklace for the royal throat. Glass beads and gold globes, joined by a jade pendant. Our royalty wore girdles and belts of open-work sheet gold, girdles that have no real counterpart anywhere in East Asia. The tombs of Shilla, massively constructed, preserved this blazing splendor. They were more impervious to looting than the tombs of Baekje and Goguryeo. Spangles were attached by twisted gold wires. We hung pendants from the girdles, and from the pendants we dangled charms to ward off evil spirits. Gold was plentiful in our land. We mined it and shaped it. Gold was tender. Gold was magic. Gold was the power of the king, the shining spirit of the sun itself. When royalty moved, the sheet gold of their crowns swayed and hundreds of spangles fluttered like leaves in the wind. Flashing and gleaming in the light, the ruler radiated the glory of the sun on earth. Next to the dazzling gold, sealed in the Shilla tombs, stood large pedestals and jars on perforated bases. Other ceramics bear the haunting vestiges of ritualistic beliefs. The artist has lovingly decorated this vessel with engaging figures, symbols of fertility. Reindeer from the north, a memory of our tribal beginnings. To know our spirit and our humor best, look to the animals that recur in our art. The pride of 6th century Shilla was an elite corps of warriors, the Hwarang. This warrior wears pointed shoes, leather-plated armor, and a peaked hat, so distinctively Korean. Like the later samurai of Japan, the Hwarang were bound by a code of chivalry, honor, faith, courage, mercy. They rode into battle under the protection of the Maitreya, Buddha of the future. During the incessant wars of the three kingdoms, the Maitreya promised us hope and peace. Though our separate kingdoms competed for sovereignty over the peninsula, by the 6th century each had accepted the serenity of Buddhism. A religion and philosophy, Buddhism taught us that our path to salvation lay in renouncing worldly desires. We dreamed of an end to war. This useful figure lost in thought seems to contemplate what is to come, peace and the Buddhist promise of an imminent paradise on earth, the reassurance of enlightenment to each and every one of us. Born in India, Buddhism swept through China to Korea, capturing our imagination. This triad, dated 563 AD, is drawn from Chinese models. When we were lonely or sad or suffering, we prayed to the Bodhisattva of compassion. As Buddhism thrived in our land, our figures changed from the Chinese to reflect the features of those who created them. Shila's capital at Gyeongju is one of the few ancient capitals in the world to endure into modern times. There, in the shape of our protectors and guardians, like the tortoise, we erected monuments to mark great events. There, Queen Sunduk, a passionate astronomer, erected the oldest existing observatory in the Far East. She called it her stargazing tower. Led by the knights of the Hwarang, Shilla defeated Baekje in 660 and Goguryeo in 668. The wars ended. A new era began, the United Shilla dynasty. For the first time in our history, my country was whole and at peace as Buddha promised. To celebrate, we built Anapji, a pond beside a magnificent palace. We enjoyed our respite from debilitating wars. Aristocratic literary groups lounged beside the dragon stream that flowed through this channel. Floating wine cups on the water, they composed and recited poetry. Near the tombs of those who had fought to unify our land, we posted granite guardians to stand watch along the spirit path over the souls of the honored dead. We encircled our tombs with 12 zodiac figures representing the 12 months of the year. Damaged and eroded, their meaning spent and function erased, Part human and part beast, they remain, protectors of the tombs, silent but impressive sentinels. Our spiritual unification in Buddhism cemented our national unity. Cast from a single mold in the 8th century, the sound of the great temple bell is said to carry 40 miles. The echo of Buddhism touched every corner of our land. Buddhism shifted our spiritual focus to one compassionate being. The message was irresistible: salvation after death. Though faint after 12 centuries, its inscription reads, "True religion lies beyond the realm of visible change. Its source is nowhere seen. As a sound is heard through the air without any clue to its whereabouts, so is religion." Thus we hang up this great bell to awaken the call of Buddhism. We responded to that call. The pagodas we raised were as numerous as the geese in the sky. Our palaces and temples as countless as the stars. Only a few remain. Bulguksa, one of the oldest, was first built in the 6th century. Temple complexes were much more than just halls of worship. They resembled self-sufficient communities, centers of learning and medicine. To enter Bulguksa today is to return to our ancient Buddhist traditions that have remained an unbroken continuum of religious belief. Mahayana was the form of Buddhism we adopted. It inspired hope, compassion, serenity. Ageless homage to wisdom, as young today as then, and as old. Though embraced by Buddha's divine protection, our history of nearly unbroken invasions taught us to be watchful. We constructed dragons, our symbolic protectors, into our buildings at points of stress, on beam ends and supports. Near Bulguksa is the sacred mountain of Namsan. As you climb the path, each step takes you closer to our commemoration of Buddha. For we have carved the likeness of Buddha's compassion into the granite rock face of Namsan. Hundreds of sculptures cover this mountain. Our religious beliefs brought the granite to life with memorials and praise. Bodhisattva carved in granite, one of many removed from the mountain of Namsan. This sweet figure represents those who voluntarily postponed their own salvation to help others on earth. Buddha means the enlightened one, our protector and our salvation. To honor those beliefs, on the crest of another mountain nearby, we built a temple to guard against Japanese invasion from across the eastern sea. And at the temple's entrance, we placed Buddha's fierce protector, Vajrapani. As we enter the mountain sanctuary, we pass Buddha's companions and turn to face the peace and promise of the Buddha of Sakuram. Ten disciples and 4 bodhisattvas surround the Buddha on the temple walls. One of them is the 11-headed bodhisattva of mercy, all-seeing. It has the power to detect and relieve suffering wherever it is found. More than 3 times life-size, more than 1,000 years old, positioned to catch the first rays of the morning sun, our sculpture of Buddha's perfection has remained unchanged over the centuries. His gestures are significant. One palm turned up signifies meditation. The other turned down, touching the earth, symbolizes victory over evil forces. He knows there is evil in the world. He will save us from it. Different deities fulfilled different needs. Just 2 inches high, this solid gold figure is the Buddha of the Western paradise. He promised heavenly rewards. When we were ill, we prayed that Buddha would restore us. This figure of Buddha as divine healer once held a medicine ball in his left hand. Bodhisattva was an attendant to Buddha in the spiritual hierarchy. But unlike the austere Buddha, bodhisattvas were princely. For so much, we gave much. This slender glass bottle to hold Buddhist relics is only about 2 inches high. It was found inside this gold casket. Our goldsmiths of this age rivaled those of old Shilla. For centuries and far into the next dynasty called Korya, the entrance to Buddhist temples was often marked by a massive banner pole, sometimes rising as high as 60 feet, capped by a dragon-head finial. This miniature bronze replica captures the power of its gigantic temple model. We sought Buddha's personal protection at miniature shrines. They were lightweight so that we could carry them easily. Buddha and a host of deities were always with us. Dated 1373, this is the illumination for the Lotus Sutra, a fundamental scripture of Mahayana Buddhism. In it, Buddha is compared to a great rain cloud whose thunder and lightning call all creatures, refresh all withered beings, deliver each of us according to our merits.